Hello friends, so now I'm going to show you how to begin with web development with HTML and CSS. Okay, so here on my desktop I have this folder I'm dragging here. I have created this folder, I've named it www. You don't need to name it www, but I've just chosen to name it www. It's just a folder, it can be named anything. Okay, so now I enter this folder, I double click inside the folder. I am going to create a new text file. So I right click here and then I say new, here new text file. So this one, so text document. Here there is new text document .txt. I'm going to remove, okay, let me just let me just name it index, okay, and then .htm. You can name it HTML or HTM like this. So I choose to name it HTM. As for naming the file index, this means this will be the first page which will be loaded on the website. So for now, this is a web page, and you can see the icon has even changed. This icon is for edge. This is the edge here, down here. This is the edge I'm talking about. Okay, so this edge is a browser. HTML runs in a browser. So at this point, this is a web page and it can run in the browser. Okay, meaning if I double click on it, it must, okay, as you can see, it has opened with the browser. Okay, so this file opened with the browser. And now let me try to explain. The browser has got sections. So where the cursor is pointing here, where the cursor is pointing, where there's a line here, where there's a line, okay, and upward here, okay, and here, this is the one which we call a tab. So this is a tab, and then on top of the tab here, where there is index.htm, this is the title bar. So this is the title bar. Okay, now HTML can enable us to change the name here, index.htm, and put a more meaningful name here. Okay, and then here, this is where all the web content will be seen here. When we talk about buttons, we can put buttons, we can put images, we can put so many different things here. Okay, so this is the body here. So this is the head and this is the body. Okay, now what do we do here now? Okay, let's go back. I'm not going to close this. I've just minimized the browser here, and now here I am going to open with Notepad. Okay, I am going to open with Notepad. Actually, you need to use a code editor. I can choose to use VS Code or Notepad, but for now we need to use Notepad. Okay, so that you know what I'm talking about. Now this file is empty. This file is empty. Okay, so this one now is an HTML file. This is an HTML file. The one I'm pointing at is an HTML file. And now this HTML file is empty. what it means is that this is where we write the web content, what is going to show in the on the browser. Now I can write a sentence here. Okay, I can write a sentence, my first web page. Okay, so I write a sentence like so, and then I save this sentence. Since it is not, it is inside, actually, since this sentence is inside this document, it will be considered as web content. So if I come back to the browser, okay, and make sure when you make any change here you save. So I've saved this one, and then I come back to the browser, I refresh, see what happens. That text is rendered in the browser. So now my first web page is rendered here in the browser. The problem comes in now. How do we format this content? What if we want this content to come to the center of the screen? Or what if this content, we want it to come here? Okay, we want it to come here where the cursor is, or here where the cursor is, or here, or even here at the bottom. How do we format this content? This is why HTML was developed. Now we need to know the meaning of HTML first. Okay, so let me just close that one. The meaning of HTML first. Okay, so this content is not formatted because there's no HTML here. So what do? We need to format it with HTML. Now before we go to the depth of HTML, what does HTML mean? Or what does HTML stand for? Okay, I'll give you an example of a builder who wants to build a house. The first thing that the builder will do after clearing the land, after clearing everything, the first thing that the builder will do now is to start setting. Okay, so when they set, they use a tape measure, and then the short sticks. Those sticks are called tags. They are called tags. So where the measure starts, they put a tag, and then where the measure ends, they put another tag. So a tag means the beginning and the close and the end, or the start and the end tag, the open and the close. So HTML uses tags, and the reason why it uses tags is because HTML is not a programming language, but it is a markup language. Hence HTML stands for, so HTML, H, okay, H stands for what? H stands for hyper. Please don't forget hyper. And T stands for text. Okay, T stands for text, and M, this is now which stands for markup. Okay, mark up. Okay, markup. So markup, to mark the beginning and the end. Okay, and then not makeup, but markup. Sometimes you can make a mistake, you say makeup, like for you ladies, not makeup, please, mark up. Okay, we are marking up the beginning and the end. Okay, the start and the finish. Okay, the open and the close. So markup. And L is for language. Okay, language. So language. Okay, L is for language. Now HTML is not a programming language. HTML is a markup language. Hence, it uses tags, as I told you. Say tags, they are small sticks. Okay, they use where they are used to define where the house starts and where it ends, where a corner starts and where another corner ends. So you mark up. So everything which is between that tag is what we call content. Everything which is between those tags is what we call content. Okay, everything between the tag is what we call content, and the start of the tag, including the content, and the end and the closing of the tag, okay, is what we call the element. Okay, so a tag is a single tag. Okay, the open tag or the end tag, that's a tag. An element is the open tag, the content, and the closing tag. So we shall see what I'm trying to mean here. Now, this what we have put here, as I told you earlier, it will still show in the browser. So if I refresh, you can see that this one now is showing in the browser. Now look at the way I formatted it. Okay, I formatted it in such a way that it was breaking lines. This one up to here, it was on its line. Actually, even this one was on its line. But look at it. Everything has just been put in a single line. Why? Because there are no tags here. There are no formatting tags. HTML formatting tags. Okay. So let's now let's comment this one out. Now, how to write a comment in HTML? You start with the open angle bracket, the exclamation mark, the two hyphens, okay, two hyphens, and then here at the end you put two hyphens and the closing angle bracket. This content will not be rendered now. It's within a tag. So this is an HTML tag. This is the open tag and this is the closing tag. And this is the syntax for the comment tag. So this is now a comment element. So the open tag, the text inside is content, and the tag at the end is the closing tag. Okay, so when we save this one and then come back to the browser, you see that the browser will ignore that text now. Why? Because we are telling the browser this is a comment, ignore it. Okay, so the browser will ignore that comment. Okay, now HTML, there are so many versions of HTML, but the latest version of HTML is HTML5. And the syntax for HTML5, for the browser to know that you are dealing with HTML5, you need to put up a declaration. So I'm starting my HTML here. I'm going to put up a declaration. I'm going to say exclamation and doc type in uppercase, just like this. Doc type and then HTML, like so. You close. So this is a declaration that you put on top here. Okay, so this is the declaration that you put on top, the doc type HTML. Okay, and then you're going to start your HTML tag. So where the HTML will start and where it will end. So we use the angle bracket, this angle bracket, HTML, as you can see, and then we close the angle bracket. When you write like this, the browser will see it as the open tag. Oh, this is where the HTML starts, and where this is where the HTML starts. Okay, so this is the open tag, and this one is a self-closing tag. So it's a self-closing element. It's an element on its own because it doesn't require any closing tag. So we just put this, the tag like this. It opens and it closes on its own. So it's a self-closing tag. Okay. So HTML, we put HTML like this. Okay. And then down here, we are going to put another HTML tag, but this one is a closing tag. So just after the open angle bracket, you put the /. When you write like this, it tells the browser that this one is a closing tag. So this is the closing tag and this is the open tag. So this is where HTML starts and where it ends. Now in between there must be some content. Okay, so HTML element is the parent of all the other tags. So this HTML, being a parent, it has got two children. The first child, always this one is the first child. You see, there's no way you can switch children to say my firstborn now becomes the lastborn. Never. It only happened in the Bible where they just Isaac and Esau, Esau and Isaac. Sorry, not Esau and Isaac. Esau and Jacob. Okay, Jacob swindled the right of being a first child. It was only in the Bible. Okay, but however, that which happened, Esau being the firstborn, was not removed. Okay, only the rights, the privileges were interchanged. So the position cannot be changed. Okay, so now the head should always be the first one. So you write here a head. So the head, and then you close the head. Every time when you are closing, you write like this, head. Okay, then you close. So this one is the first child. And then we say that HTML has got two children. This one, head, and then we have what? Head, and then we have body here. Okay, body. Okay, so we have body. So we close the body like this. Okay, so this is the basic structure of an HTML document. Okay, however, the head also has got children, and the body also has got children. So let's start with the most important child that you never need to forget. Okay, you don't need to forget this child. Okay, this child is the title tag. Okay, let me show you again the browser. This browser here, I said this one is the title bar. So we need to change this one, not index.html, but we need to give a more meaningful name. So like home. So we're going to say title here. Okay, title, and then we close our title. Okay, we close our title, and here we write home, meaning this page we are writing here is a home page. So this one is a home page. Are we together? Okay, so this one is a home page. Now when we refresh, see where this content, the word home will be shown. As you can see, it is shown here, up here. Now that one has been changed. Index.html has changed. It's now home. Okay, it's now what? Home. So that's where we change, that's where we write the title of the page. Okay, so that shows that this is the title of the page. Okay, the title of the page. Let's go back. And then inside the body has got so many children. Okay, the body has got so many children. Okay, so the body, the first child, I mean not the first child, but of course on top of the page here you consider having a what? You consider having a title. You are going to consider having a title. Okay, so for you to have this title is called a heading. So there are 6 levels of headings. There is H1, H2, H3, H4, and H6. So let me just write them here so that you know what I mean, what I'm talking about. Okay, so we have H1. You close the H1. Okay, you close the H1, and then we have another one. What? H2. Then we close the H2. Okay, we close like that. Now let's just copy this around. Let's just copy this around. Okay, so this is H3, here also H3, H4, here also H4, here H5, here also H5, here H6, here also H6. So 6 headings. Now let me just copy this, copy and paste here. Okay, so that we see how it is going to be shown in the browser. Now here, since these things are in the tags, they are being formatted by the web browser following the syntax of HTML5. So as you can see, now this one is the big heading, okay, followed by a big heading. Okay, so this is slightly smaller, small, and the smallest is here. So this is H6, the smallest. It's a heading, but it's very small. Okay, so these, they go with levels of headings. There's a heading, subheading, okay, a sub of a subheading, and so on. So those levels. So these are the headings that we are talking about. So we can try to center one of them to make it come to center, okay, to come here. Now how do we do this? This is where now CSS is introduced, and look at it. They are, by default, there is a gap. There's a gap, okay, there's a gap around this text. There's a gap here, 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 and a gap here. Now what do we call this gap? This gap is called margin. So there's a margin around these headings. There are margins around these headings. Okay, so there's a margin here. Here there's a margin, and there's a margin, there's a margin. Okay, now we can change the background color of this. Let's just first change the background color. So for us to change the background color, as I explained earlier on, we need to know what are we looking at here. Starting from here up to here, what is this? This is the body. So we need to, we are trying to change the background color of the body element. So this is the body element. So to change the background color, we need to come to the body and add an attribute here. So we're going to add an attribute. What attribute are we going to use here? We are going to add, what is an attribute? Okay, so we can add attributes to an element. Where do we add them? To the open tag. Always you add the attribute to the open tag, and attributes define a new behavior of that to that element. Define a new behavior. Now the behavior that we want to change here is the background color. So how do we change it? We use this attribute called style. So we use the attribute called style. So we're going to say attribute style is equal to, and now attribute goes with the value, and the value is always written inside the double quotes. So this is where we're going to write, and whatever we write inside the double quote here with this style tag, with this style attribute, whatever we write here is what we call inline CSS. So we are writing inline CSS. Why is it called inline? Because we are writing it to a specific element. So this specific element is what we are changing only. We're not changing all the others, but we are changing this body only. So what we want to change is the background color. So we write the background color like so. Background, okay, then we put a hyphen. Color, please remember, is the color for American spelling, background color. So we want to change the background color. We change it to what can we change it? We change it to, let's say, blue. Okay, we change the background color to blue, and then we terminate. So look at this one. When we write background color, this one is the property, and then we put full colon separated by the full colon, and then the value. So again, this is the value. The whole of it is the value of the style attribute. This one is the property, and this one is the value of this property here. What property? CSS property. So at this moment, when I save it, let's see what is going to happen in the browser. So when you save, you can see the background color has changed to blue. And where has it changed? Starting from here up to here. This tells us that this is the body. This whole screen that we're seeing here is the body, starting from here up to here. The title bar has not changed. Okay, this is the body. We can also change the color of text by only this single line. We'll just say color, okay, and then we say what? Color white. Okay, so we change like so, and this one is going to change the color. Now look at it. At first I wrote these things here. They were in single lines. This one was on a single line. This one was also on a single line. This one was also, all these were on single lines. But when we rendered them in the browser, they were in a single line. Why? Because they were not formatted with HTML. Now, look at this. This heading 1 is on its line. Heading 2 is on its line. And heading 3 is on its line. Why is it so? Because a heading is a block level element. Now that's a new word I'm introducing to you. Block level element. Okay, it's a block level element. What does it mean? It means it takes the whole, it spans across the width of the screen. It spans across the width of the screen. So it is spanning across the width of the screen here. So when we give the heading a background color, you see what I'm talking about. Okay, so when we say style here, we add the style attribute to this heading, and then we say background color. Okay, background color, we give it the background color of yellow. Okay, see, it's just, I'm just demonstrating yellow, and we give, okay, the color will still be black. So this one now will change. Now let's see the one which will change. H2 is not going to change, H3 is not going to change, H4 is not going to change, but H1. Why? Because we have added this attribute to H1 and not to H2 or H3 or H4 or even H6, but we have added it to H1. So the behavior that will change is for H1. Let's see. Okay, so when we, okay, as you can see, have you seen? So this one now is H1 element, and this is a block level element because it wants to take as much space as the width of the screen. So it doesn't want to share any space with any other element. It only wants to take the whole width. It wants to span across the whole width, okay, of the screen. These are block level elements. Okay, now let's see. We want to do what? Here we want to change the color again. White is not visible on yellow, so we want to change the color of text to black. So we're going to say black. Okay, so we say black, and when we save this one, now the text behavior has changed. It's now black. Okay, we can also center this text to here. Let's see how we can center it using inline. Okay, we're going to say text align. Okay, text align center. When we say center, okay, so when we say center, let's try to save. If I've written center, okay, so we have brought it here now. What are we using? CSS and HTML. Okay, so we are using CSS to manipulate this content. What we see here is content, the web content. We are manipulating it so that it looks nice in the eyes of the user. And then here we are going to do what? We want to change again. We want to increase the space around the text. We can increase the space around this text. Okay, so how do we increase the space? The space around the text inside this element, the space that you see around the text, is what we call padding. Okay, so we can increase the padding. So we're going to say padding. Okay, padding like so, and then we say let's say 20 pixels. So pixels, these are units. Okay, these are units. Pixels, you know, picture deals with pixels, so this is pixels. When we refresh, as you can see now, there is more room inside this element. While we have increased the padding of this text. So now this is 20px, and then we can remove the margin. Margin is the space outside the element. The space outside the element is what we call margin. So we can remove the margin. We want to say margin, okay, like this, margin 0. So this element is not going to have any margin. Let's, as you can see now, so we have removed the margin of this element. Okay, now the margin, the space that you see outside here is not the margin of this element or of this element. This is the padding of the body. The body also has padding. So if we come to the body here where we wrote the body, when we say padding 0, you see padding, okay, padding 0, you see, okay, padding 0. When we refresh, oh sorry, okay, so the padding, and then we say margin 0. Let's see what happens instead of, okay, so it was the margin, not the padding. So it was the margin of the body. Okay, so we have said the margin 0. Okay, so it was the margin of the body. Okay, so we have removed that white space there. Okay, now for us to remove the space for everything, okay, we can use what we call internal CSS. Now internal CSS, we're going to write it inside the style tag. So we can change this tag element, this tag attribute, to now to style this style attribute to become the tag, okay, to become a tag or to become an element. So this element must always be put inside the head, okay. It's a child to the head. So we're going to say style. As you can see now, it's no longer an attribute but a tag. So we put this open tag and we close, okay, style here, okay, we close like this. So now this one is a what? Is an element. Inside here, this is where we can write our CSS. Okay. So now inside the style element, inside the style element, this is now where we are going to write our CSS. So we can use this asterisk as the universal selector. When we say we need to write the open curly brace and the closing curly brace. Inside here, this is where we are writing CSS for everything. Okay, so we're going to say margin 0 for everything. Let's see. Let's refresh. Yes. So everything has been affected. When we say everything, background color should be blue, or everything background color should be orange. So we say background color is what? Orange. Okay, is orange. We save like this. You see everything now, the background color is orange, but the H1 the background color has not changed. Why? Because inline CSS is more powerful than internal CSS. So whatever you write here cannot cascade what you write here. And what does CSS stand for? CSS stands for cascading style sheet. To cascade is to cancel. And you see, when we inspect this page, okay, when we inspect this page, okay, and then when we say CSS, sorry, okay, styles here, let me just increase this one. As you can see, everything, okay, and then HTML display block, okay, and then we come here, we can come to the body, as you can see. So you see element dot style, background color blue, and the color white, margin 0. And when we write here, this inline CSS, the inline CSS that we wrote on the body, the inline CSS that we wrote on the body, this inline CSS that we wrote here will cascade the internal CSS. It will cancel, okay, because this one is more precise, okay, than this one here. So the background color which has changed, let's see. As you can see, the body has not applied orange. No, it has cancelled. This is, it has cascaded, okay, it has cancelled. The body has this property, display block, okay. Margin 8px has been cancelled because on the body we have this one, margin 0. So the default margin for the body is what? 8px. Okay, and then when we come to the head, to h1, this is h1, and look at this one. h1 has got the background color yellow, and since it is on h1 itself as an inline CSS, it cannot be removed, it cannot be cancelled. So look at this one, background color still remains yellow, color still remains black, and then the text align still remains center, padding still remains 20px, and margin 0. And when we say margin 0, this does not affect the h1. Why? Because the style on h1 is more precise than the style which we have applied in using the internal CSS. So it is more advisable to use the internal or the external CSS, the one I'm going to introduce in the next video, the external CSS. It is important to use the internal CSS or the external CSS so that you don't have this hell of looking at why the background color has not changed for everything when I have set the background color to what? To orange, and this one still remains yellow, the heading. Why? Because inline CSS cannot be cascaded, it cannot be removed. Okay, it cannot be removed. And then these others, their background colors have changed. Why? Because we did not have any CSS property on this one. We don't have any inline CSS here. And when we say padding 20px, you see what happens. So when we say padding 20px, okay, when we say padding, okay, when we say padding, okay, 20px again, you see that these will now be spaced. Okay, you can see this is what has happened now. Everything has been given that padding of 20px. Okay, but not on this one, not on h1. No, as you can see, it is cancelling. Okay, but here the padding has been applied. Okay, block, display block, font size 1.5 em. We shall look at all those units. Okay, size units, and then margin, block start, all these have been applied. Okay, so this is not looking good. When we say padding 20px, we can remove this one so that we go back, and when we refresh, everything has been taken back to normal. So we need to manipulate our CSS, our page, using internal or external. However, we can still use inline CSS if you want to change, if there is need for you to change a specific element which you do not want to change using internal or external CSS. So thank you very much, guys, for staying tuned. Okay, this is Masida Male taking you through HTML, the basics of HTML and CSS. So thank you very much. Shalom, shalom.